Hello and welcome to Royale Without Cheese, our bi-weekly podcast in which we discuss both the classic and the unknown of art and popular cinema from the then and now. We are your hosts, me, Miguel Aido, Tomás Ferreira is with us,
Hey, hey, hey.
and Leonardo Miranda.
Hey guys, it's movie time.
Woohoo! Today we talk about Dead Ringers, but before any ados, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, or simply give us a like. Dead Ringers is a 1988 psychological thriller directed by David Cronenberg and starring Jeremy Irons in a dual role as identical twin gynecologists, Elliot and Beverly, who take full advantage of the fact that nobody can tell them apart until their relationship begins to deteriorate over a woman that Beverly falls for. The script was based on the novel Twins by Barry Wood and Jack Giesland, a highly fictionalized version of the real-life Marcus twins story. The film won numerous honors, including for Irons' performance. Toronto International Film Festival critics also ranked it among the top 10 Canadian films of all time. However, was Royale Without Cheese as enamored by these conniving twins, or were we left seeing double, but with little emotional rumble? Brothers, if you please.
Yeah. Here we go. Were we indeed left seeing double with little emotional rumble, or not? I really like it. It's one of my favorite Cronenberg movies, I have to say. I just love Jeremy Irons' performance. Irons' performance. It's great. You know, I was just reviewing the film just before entering, and I was just so captivated. I could just stay seeing the scenes like I was just going the way he balances off the emotions and the demeanor of each of the different twins is amazing, and just the little subtle difference of in their physique, you know, of the hairline. One is slightly to the side, the other is completely, you know, hair to the back, and one being the Elliot, you know, the smoother one with the scars and etc. I don't know if you noticed that, but you know, they have that little difference in the hairstyling. Yeah, and
And I think
you know,
also sometimes in the voice, but I'm not sure if it's just me
okay,
just thinking that I was hearing something different, or maybe it really was. I don't know.
The way they speak, I think, which is an
yeah,
extension
one
of
is
their
more trembly,
personality. Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
yeah, that is more reassured.
Which was
You know,
something I was
one
like,
is always wearing sweaters, the other is more
just
wearing
the,
shirts.
just one thing, which is like people are like, oh, they're so similar, they're the exact same, and things like that. At least there's a character who's like, I can tell the difference a little bit. But like from my perspective, it's pretty. At least for me, it was pretty easy to see who is who. Like their personalities are very different. For one, like one is clearly much more confident and like, you know, the ladies man. The other is a lot more. Uh, and then there's the physical differences, like the hairline, as you were saying. So I thought just that was just a little thing that I was like, it's not that difficult to tell them apart. I don't think, or at least it's like there's a conflict, which is you want to make it somewhat easy for the audience to intuitively tell them apart, at least more towards the beginning, because I think as the film goes along, it becomes a little more muddled sometimes, where who is who, and the distinction between the two becomes more difficult. But early on, I think it's pretty well delineated who is who. At least I felt that. I don't know if you guys also feel that.
I felt the opposite actually,
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
because
Hmm.
with the film progressing and them sort of having the whole thing with the woman, it seemed to me more obvious who was who and telling the personalities apart. Especially because Beverly was starting to become all enamored by the lady, and yeah, and with it came this side of him that we could sort of more easily clash with Elliot, I think. So it was actually in the beginning that I was more like, who is this in this scene? Is it one or the other? And for me, they were almost like the same person entering and leaving scenes. Although, of course, with the whole sort of triangle with the lady, I mean, eventually, I think also looking back, you could see the difference, especially with the confidence in Elliot that isn't present in Beverly. But yeah, but purely physically, when you're sort of beginning the film and are confronted with the two twins, for me was like, okay, who is who exactly?
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, but eventually,
What I mean is more like because you mentioned the relationship with the woman. Like I'm including that in the beginning of the film. Like I mean more the last. I don't know. Like when both of them become addicted. I think when because Beverly and Ellie kind of
Okay.
become addicted to drugs. I think in that moment is where I'm more not so sure, because they're both going through similar experiences, so it becomes more difficult for me to tell them apart sometimes. I was like, wait, who is this guy? Is that Ellie or Beverly?
Yeah. At that moment, I went back to the not really knowing
Yeah,
because Elliot was purposefully trying to imitate the experience
exactly.
Beverly was having. So yeah, it became hard again.
I mean, the first time I'm watching the film, I couldn't quite. I had an understanding of who was who. I wasn't confused. I can't say that, but I wasn't like, "Whoa, my God, you're going a little bit out of focus there, Lenny." Now, the first time I watched, I couldn't tell them apart. It wasn't that evident what distinguished them. But I think, regardless of telling not telling, I think what the film does is this is giving you enough physically and personality wise that you have material to work with as a viewer, because in a sense it is in knowing them and how different they are within how similar they are at first sight that you really gauge what the conflict is, what will be the moment of rupture where these guys that clearly have differences and sometimes and there's a potency for clash underneath the surface, when will that rupture happen? And it happens over this love affair where with this woman Claire, this actress, where clearly Beverly feels a little bit more for her than the usual scheming that they have, possibly with their clients and engaging in not so moral affairs with them. And yeah, that descent is pretty awesome. I think one of the things of making a movie about twins is that it lends itself to the spectator reflecting about more than just the experience of having a twin, which often, they complete each other's sentences, they think alike. There's a lot of that synchronism or symbiosis, if you will, between those two people, the experience of being twins. In fact, there's just a fascination, I think, in cinema for that kind of an experience, brotherly experience, that you still have movies like the one that Herzog has coming out, I don't know when, this year or the next, but it's with Kate and Rooney Mara,
Yeah.
Who are kind of, are they twins? Not really twins in the sameness term, but they are,
Sisters.
I don't know if they're, yeah, sisters at the very least. I don't know. I was thinking about the term fake twins. I think there's something there. But that's a very interesting concept there. They did everything synchronized. Those twins, I think they were in New York as well. So New York has a lot of twins. With oddities in terms of experiences and disturbed minds, I guess. So that's another thing coming. And in this film, I think Jeremy Irons just has a great performance in kind of really getting at the center of what makes these two guys tick. He really should have won an Oscar for this, not the Misfortunes movie with Glenn Close or whatever what's the title? I've seen it. I don't remember very much the title anymore. It's called
Reversals of Fortune.
The Reversals of Fortune. Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. It's fine, good, but like, it's like the Green Book of out of the two. Like,
Oscar slot.
This one is really amazing. I mean, you have an actor who's playing two different guys opposite himself, which is basically, in practical terms, nothing on set. He needs to double that again, which is quite a challenge, and I think he does it very well. And Beverly, just this wide-eyed, open puppy dog, has these methodical pauses in him, while Elliot is very scheming, even in the way he eats. Like, just these little nuances to the performance that are very delicious. And so, and he's a complex character in himself, all himself. These two guys, you even feel seduced by him. Even if he is like a pig and, objectifies the women that he goes out with and has all this scheme playing out with his brother, where they share the same experience and the same people. But then you ultimately also feel very much sorry for him when things start falling apart through the addiction that Beverly gets involved in through this affair with this woman. But what's particularly interesting for me, it's the moment of why that happens, why he accepts, because Beverly comes from comes from a position as a doctor, very aware, very knowledgeable, tells the actress, well, I don't do that, I don't do those pills to downers or uppers to go to sleep because it's just messing up with your whole system and doesn't do you any good. But eventually he goes there in that sofa scene, which I think is so interesting, where they're kind of making some kind of a sex play with the erotic novel. But then at the mention of his brother, Elliot, which he never mentioned before, it becomes an accident in that conversation. He starts to get really bothered, and she starts poking the bear unintentionally, unaware, but who is your brother? And etc. And it's like the older brother thing and the younger brother thing. There's a tension there where he needs to challenge that image. What, Beverly, a girl's name? Am I lesser? Am I weaker? No, I'll take the pills. It becomes there's a regressing of the character of Elliot, not only there, but especially towards the end, to a little baby almost, but also Beverly at a certain point in time, where they start talking like little kids again. There's a moment later on towards the end where Beverly, where they are both sick, both very vulnerable, trying to synchronize each other together in their apartment where everything is filth, and their routine, their lives have become just rumble and unclean and uncared for. You have Elliot kind of wanting cake. Give me cake, big brother. And big brother goes fetch cake, which is on top of books, gives him cake, and he starts crying. I really want ice cream. And it's just so heartbreaking. You just feel the connection between them. Not only as brothers, but as caretakers of each other, almost like father and mother at the same time, to have such a very close connection. And Irons just makes your heart kind of burst with how this house, this home of them two has fallen apart just by the nuances of their performance. It's not a film that really runs on a very intricate plot. It's really breathing and living out of his performance and the pathos that he lets out. By you feeling so, you really feel the urgency of this routine, the normalcy of them together being broken down, even if the normalcy was filled with questionable things, morally wise, so that is fertile ground for drama. So yeah, that's what I have to say in the first instances.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like you said, it really not depends, but really lives off of the performance to an extent where the film itself is very cold and almost like cynical. It's like we start with the kids when they're young, and then we flash forward again to, I think, when they're in college. There's this sort of beginning sequence of scenes where we're moving fast in time, and everything is very sort of calculated. It's almost like it's like a playbook out of a science thing. It's very sort of pragmatic and methodical, even in terms of how he's telling this story from when they were kids. Um, and yeah, and the overall film has a sort of seriousness to it, which is very intriguing because then they themselves as characters are very cartoonish in the sense that the way they speak to each other is kind of like you said, Maj. Like they're still babies, like they're still kids, a very sort of boyish kids relationship with each other, the things that they talk about, the way they speak to each other, but the overall comfort in being with each other this way, in living in the same house, sharing the same things. It's almost like they couldn't or could never separate from each other, which is kind of the point of the film. But you see this in so many ways, and I think it's interesting because it really gives them a sense of these are not adults, these are still kids, and that is somewhat creepy to think about, especially because it's the very first scene that you see. It's them as kids, so it's kind of saying this is these two people, and they've always been this way. Not just as kids and very close and speaking this way, but also with their interests in sort of the world of sex and the female body. Because in the scene that we see with each other as kids, they immediately go to a little girl, their age basically, but a little girl, and the thing they ask is like, "Will you have sex with us?" So it's from the very beginning, we are set up with this sort of way they are built up their mindset towards the human body, I guess. Which also raises another question, which is why are they like this? What makes them so interested in these subjects,
Hmm.
to the point where then they pursue medicine to this extent and become gynecologists. So it's intriguing to think that they are this way. They are twins, and then they are similar more than normal twins, and then they have this specific interest. So a lot of things are brought up, which I'm not sure are answered, but still very interesting to see.
And they're British, right? Like
Yeah,
they're supposed to
I
be
think they're
British
British.
characters.
I
Yeah,
had that question throughout the film too,
yeah.
because I was
'Cause
like,
I'm like,
at
wait a
least
at the
minute.
beginning I
Irons
thought they
is.
were American.
Yeah, yeah,
Then if you
exactly.
look at the accent, it's like,
It's very British. So I think it like that's actually a good like little thing to make the characters even more like strange and out of context. Like they don't fit in. Like they're in Canada, but they have this accent, and they don't really ever address it. Their Britishness, which is, I mean, they don't have to. It's not something that probably would come up, but it's there, and you're like, wait, what is that accent? That's not Canadian.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say that that beginning is quite interesting because it comes out like a sore thumb. It's kind of sort of disjointed, and it's just very small, brief episodes of them as kids, kind of discovering this passion, doing things together. Then in university, conquering this place in their careers. There's a starting point, and then finally the cleaning, and you almost feel like, uh, okay, because it's so brief. But I think and it is cold, but it's sort of this mechanical way of like very quickly Cronenberg showing their. For me, that was what was it. How very effectively and quickly show how synchronized they are in their interest, in their passion, and the fact that it's not justified to me. In justified in the sense of where does this come from? How does it start exactly? Why are they like this? To me, that's part of the interest that I don't know exactly. There's not an explanation to why the passion exists. That's what makes it more mysterious and thus more interesting, the question raised. Um, and yeah, and then regarding the theme of coldness, I really find interesting the color palette of the film around these grays and steel blues. A lot of blue has a predominant color, and then the red that pops in the more heightened scenes of danger, so to speak. Especially since when red comes up, Cronenberg decides to, paint him as this, paint him and his gynecologist crew of assistants when they are in operations or such, has almost these Spanish Inquisition figures,
Yeah,
dressed in these
Yeah.
robes.
it's like a
And the
cult
instruments
thing.
themselves are instruments of akin to torture instruments, So there's this undercurrent of this as a dangerous thing, violating the body, creating sort of a Frankenstein monster, and talk about mutation. So it's a very sensitive territory that you can take a lot of interpretations from. And these ideas of torture is clearly Spanish Inquisition, by the way they are dressed, and mutation. Yeah, it gives room to a lot of thought towards the cross of those ideas with this story, and this theme of fractured identity, which is at the center of this twin story.
I think the instruments are a bit like a reflection of who they are. They're not just gynecologists, so to speak. They are almost intellectuals of it, and have an interest in it to a point where,
Artists.
yeah, yeah, they have an interest to a point where it's like, are
It's a
these
religion.
normal? Yeah, are these normal doctors? It's not quite clear. The line is very blurred, and you always feel like they do a little too much, and go beyond what they're supposed to do as doctors. So the instruments, yeah, this that kind of just speaks to that sort of going beyond what is their normal job, and which is obvious in the sense that they actually have affairs with their patients, which is the more obvious way. But beyond that, it's just the way they speak of it, the way they praise it. Yeah, everything is sort of a mantra to them, and that's the side of it which kind of speaks to the this religious side that you were speaking of, where that sort of operating room isn't just an operating room. It feels like something out of a cult, very spiritual with the robes. I'm not sure why those are the robes exactly, but for me, it's just the idea of the whole thing being spiritual and sort of a covenant thing where everything is sort of mysterious and not to be addressed outside of it. So yeah. It's
Yeah.
these ideas, very sort of mystique.
The idea of their fascination, like when it's Ellie talking to the actress, and he mentions the thing with inner beauty, and he uses it kind of like jokingly, but he's saying like it's funny just to say that inner beauty is talking like literally about the
Yeah.
insides of the body, when obviously usually we mean that about the personality of a person. I thought that was like a funny idea too,
Yeah.
to express
But
their
he's so seductive and so logical and so that you're listening to him saying those things. You're like, I agree. He's saying those things, and I'm like, why isn't there best spleen or best kidney? I was like
It's the
convinced by his
Britishness
thesis.
also.
the
It's the
Britishness,
Britishness
exactly.
also.
It brings a
damn it.
sense of expertise.
Yes.
That's true.
That's why Americans use it so often in when portraying royalty, whether that royalty is in Egypt or somewhere else. You may have, Exodus, Gods and Kings from Ridley Scott, and you have Christian Bale talking in British accent, and he's Moses. But anyway, that's a little parenthesis that I find funny of Hollywood. But yeah, there's that a factor into it, and yeah, I mean, Jeremy Irons is just I really think he should have won an Oscar for this film, and he's
But it wasn't even
so
nominated,
captivating.
right?
But I don't think so. Probably not. But yeah, I don't think so. It's too weird, maybe, to get there. I don't know, but I think it should. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen him have. For sure. I can't really remember of other iconic Jeremy Irons performances that I stayed with aside from this. I think this was really a work of.
Well, he's Scar
real
in
labor.
The Lion King. He's the voice of
That's true.
Scar.
True,
It's
but I
fine.
have not seen The Lion King.
Definitely.
I'll let that simmer.
What the
I'll
hell?
let that simmer for a while.
What the hell?
What are you
I'll let
talking
the echo of
about?
that meteorite.
What? Not even as a kid.
The thing is, when I was a kid, everything I got was direct-to-DVD sequels. I lived in communist Russia, so that
Did
got-
you have a TV, a television
TV.
set?
I had a TV, a
The
VHS
Lion
player.
Puppy.
Exactly. So I got Lion King 2. I got the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. And other stuff too. Jafar 3. That, so that kind of stuff. And I only got to know the original stories because my uncle was a comic book, fan, through whom I got to be a comic book fan, and he gave me the comic book of the original. So I read The Lion King. I know the story, but I read the comic book, which
The
is
book is
basically battle for
better.
battle shot.
You didn't
not-
experience Jeremy Irons' voice.
Yeah, it's true. I have seen clips on YouTube. That's how pathetic it is. I have seen bits and pieces.
I'm familiar.
So, yeah, I'm familiar. But no, I don't think I've ever seen the original Lion King. I need to.
I mean, to be fair, I watched in Portuguese, so it's like I didn't
okay.
really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and he was. I think he was reluctant to do it at the time, but then he saw the story and he was more interested, and he did it. Anywho,
Isn't he on like that Portuguese Train to Lisbon film?
yes, that was the first Jeremy Irons movie I've
yeah.
ever seen. O Comboio Noturno para Lisboa, the Night Train to Lisbon, do Billy August. The
He's
director,
also
and,
M. Butterfly.
and Butterfly,
David-
exactly. We should talk about that because
I've
I think
never
that's
seen
one of
it.
the first. I've seen it. It's one of the first
Okay, but that's
collaborations.
another Cronenberg film, right?
Yeah, that's
It's another
another.
Cronenberg film, and Cronenberg, he's so cool, so cool. He's one of those filmmakers I really like to hear speak and talk. I'm going to see The Shrouds tonight, actually, to my
I want to see
local
that.
theater. It's pretty cool. I hope cool by the looks of the trailer, and I really like the concept.
Isn't it crazy that he has never I don't think he has won any major awards, right?
I don't think
like
so either.
Oscars. I don't think he
Yeah,
has
I don't
any.
think so. I don't think
I don't
so.
even know if
Who gives a
if
shit?
his
Stanley
films
Kubrick
have-
never won. What? Sorry.
Yeah, okay, sure, but
But he should. Like
but
non-American.
he's still alive, and he's part of this new sort of mindset of being more sort of open to these sort of different filmmakers.
He's like, how old is he? 80 already? Maybe
Probably,
not.
yeah,
Yeah.
around 70, 80.
he's 82.
Yeah.
I knew it. Yeah.
So-
He has a
Man,
great
I-
interview.
He seems younger. He seems young. I don't know why. He seems younger.
Also because he seems younger, not just, I mean, in looks, not so much.
because he's
but,
very sharp. Like,
but he's very sharp. When you hear him talk, he's very calm, very contained, very, clear cut to the bone, and has very interesting ideas. And he's so cool. He's hypnotizing to hear him talk. You know, I've watched it's not usual for me to hear an interview 1 hour from beginning to end. I watched this interview from the IndieWire about the Shrouds and another of his films, and he's so like ahead of his time, and like the way his interests collide. He's all about transformation. And now that we're talking about M. Butterfly, in the 90s, he starts to veer off from his beginnings in body horror with Scanners and The Fly, and this movie not so much in particular, but The Fly is very out there.
The Fly is the one that has won an Oscar for sure, I think.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I don't think so, because I think I was looking at this
Didn't
filmography
Goldblum
and...
get... I thought it did.
maybe.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
No?
Best actor? I don't know.
Not win, but like nominated.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Maybe
it won best makeup. Best makeup.
Okay. Yeah,
That's it. Makes sense.
But him personally, I don't think he has any. I think.
No.
Like
No,
for
Cronenberg,
scripts, directing, film.
I mean, he must have won something at festivals,
I
but
know.
No, he has
this
won
week.
like BAFTAs and things like that for sure.
Yeah,
But-
some
but not
horror
the main
film festival
ceremonies, I
things.
Let me
Yep.
check. He's been no, he's not. He hasn't even won a BAFTA. He's only nominated.
Ludicrous.
We say ludicrous, yes.
He was nominated for Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Like they keep it segregated in his
Wait.
zone.
What on the end of the line?
Stay there.
End of the line, Yeah.
I mean, if the substance
That's
is there,
ridiculous.
then Cronenberg should be as well.
I think I've seen Viggo Mortensen recently complaining about that. No, recently. I saw it recently, but it was an old interview of him saying he should get more attention because he's
It
one
is
of the
weird. Like
greatest
it's very-
directors of
it
Canada.
feels targeted. Like
Yeah.
movies influenced by him are getting there,
yeah.
and like I don't know. Maybe they're only waking up now,
He's
and like they
super
can
now director.
retroactively go back and give. 'Cause
Or
his
is it
newest
maybe
work, I get it.
something like personal, like he chooses not to send to
I haven't
consideration?
seen that.
Probably not. I don't know. He's Canadian as
Yeah.
well. There's always the
The tension.
the
I don't know,
tension.
but
No, more than ever.
Hollywood likes another Canadian more, which is Ryan Reynolds. That's the better
Oh, man,
Canadian, I guess.
I thought I was gonna say Denis.
No. Oh, there's that, direct. But I wanted to shit on Hollywood, so I went with Ryan. But
I think even Xavier Dolan has like a nomination or something.
for Oscar,
Yeah, I
Probably.
wouldn't be surprised.
Like foreign film,
possible.
something like that.
something like that. Best foreign short film. I don't know. Very very small, very
Okay,
niche.
no, actually, I don't think so. No,
All right.
Yeah, no.
but he has.
Canada is being pushed back by.
Like Canadian films are in this like limbo area where are they included in the regular categories or are they like in the foreign film category? It's like they're not sure what to do sometimes.
Are they American? Or are they not?
It's like a budget thing. If it's a Dune, like a Canadian director doing the Dune film.
But it's a Hollywood
that's
film,
best
I
picture.
think. Like it's still in the
It's a little
Hollywood
bit sad to
machine.
get it.
It's
That Hollywood has this criteria of are they us or are they not us? Or assimilated, non-assimilated?
yeah.
High budget, okay, they're us. Low budget, oh, maybe they're a fringe Canadian thing.
Although they've done a
Cronenberg
lot of
things.
different things in the past years where they put in the best film all sorts of things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
good.
true.
I think I'm just saying, like at the peak of his career of Cronenberg, maybe it was a little more, the waters were less
Yeah,
free
it's true.
than they are today, and that's
Now
why he hasn't he didn't break through.
Because
Whereas if
even
he
his
was doing,
No, yeah, go ahead. go ahead.
if he was doing like what he was doing in the 80s, but today I think probably the movies would get way more attention, like Dead Ringers and Videodrome. I think those films,
Mhm.
are
Yeah, yeah.
clearly Oscar caliber, Not that it matters that much, but it's nice to see an artist get the recognition he deserves.
It's more for the value of it being a platform rather
Yeah.
of the intrinsic value of it being a cinema institution, which I don't think so. But yeah, coming back to Cronenberg and his career is like now we've briefly mentioned M Butterfly, which is a very interesting film. It was one of in the 80s. He was very interesting body horror and starts to veer off mid 90s to 2000s into more grounded stories where the transformation, which is the sort of running theme that he's interested in, the process of change and what you become and what that means for you, the protagonist, as human beings in your life, changed in its concept. It becomes more of an intrinsic thing. When he came up with the interest of making M Butterfly, which is about this English diplomat in China falling in love for this opera singer who is actually a Chinese spy, who he thinks is a woman, because in I think in Chinese theater, the men portrayed women. There weren't women doing women roles. So he gets fooled, he gets duped, and he gets in a relationship with that spy by a very famous Chinese actor at the time, John. I don't remember his last name, but he was very recurrent. His face. He did The Last Emperor with Bertolucci. But anyway, and he came up to the producer saying, "I want to do this film," and the producer was saying, "That's all fine and good, and you're a great director, but I don't understand why are you interested in this? Don't you do horror? Isn't this a natural thing?" And Cronenberg was like, "I need to think about it." Well, I'm interested in this because it's about transformation. It's about change, and that. The process, that doesn't need to be clear-cut horror, and that's what I'm interested in portraying here at a deeper, more grounded level. And then you have movies like that with A History of Violence, Eastern Promises, which I've seen recently. Very contained film, very minimal plot, but a very amazing, one of the best performances from Viggo Mortensen. You really gotta watch it, guys, because it's like amazing tension and with the relationship between him and Naomi Watts, very, very interesting. I mean, he really transforms in that film, Viggo Mortensen. And there's this a Russian mafia guy, dude, who is this, I think not sure if he's an Israeli actor who came up in the 90s. Now you don't see him as much, he's very old. He appeared in a Jim Jarmusch film called, we've reviewed it. It's Night on Earth. He was one of the cab drivers, Helmet. Helmet?
I remember him.
Helmets. Yeah, there's that guy. He's that guy, but he also was in a film with Jeffrey Rush, very famous one, Oscar-worthy, Oscar thingy for sure, which was called Shine. I think it was Shine. Was about the pianist, David something. I watched it when I was, in music class, like in 5th grade, and I really liked it actually. And Jeffrey Rush plays this kind of mentally ill pianist who's very good, but is abused by his father, who wants him to be like super perfectionist, and his father is that actor, and he's a great actor, and he's like this mafia guy, the Russian mob, in London. He's the top head guy, and he is very interesting because he has this very benevolent grandpa look, but underneath there's this very mean guy. So perfect casting. But anyway, yeah, you have that whole career path with him, and now he seems to be coming back on the more body horror connection. Dead Ringers is placed at the crossroads place, because there's a little bit of that, but it's mostly, very grounded. The twins thing. There's something almost. It's very psychological.
There is. I mean,
there is a hint of another worldly connection. When he says, wherever goes into his bloodstream, it gets into mine. Or where there's a moment where he's in bed with Clarice, and suddenly he sees it's a dream thing, but there's this, practical effect connection, this umbilical cord that is mutated and connects them. It's their mutation.
The tools themselves are very sort of body.
But you see, it's always evocative.
Because they're not used until the end. They're not used, but the design itself is very like, this is not normal. This belongs in a horror film.
But that's why I say this movie is more at the crossroads than complete body horror. Let's make a practical monster out of things, like in Scanners or people blowing their heads off. It's more evocative. It's still there, but it's more muted in the background. It's suggested. It's evocative, and then
it's sort of at the same level of Crimes of the Future, I think, even in terms of the way they use the tools.
Would you say there? I wouldn't say so. Crimes of the Future, I would say it's a return to form, more or less, because you see a lot of a lot more heavy practical effects. Ears in the
mean,
body
but
of a
there's the
guy
connect. Yeah,
going inside the.
yeah.
There's
There's
a
a
lot
bit
of
more
body
mutations and things
stuff.
like that.
Yeah.
But
While
it has
here,
a similar idea of the like the surgery being like this, or like the interacting with the human body in that way.
ideas are
And it,
similar. I think it's much more not gory, but you
But
know,
that's the thing. It's yes, there are those more frequent shots of, body thing, and sure, I agree. But then the film itself is also very uh
it's muted.
cold,
calm,
muted.
and
Yeah.
it goes very into the realm of the ideas and of the implications of doing this, which is something which Dead Ringers also explores a lot, making the audience really reflect on the nature of these two twins and their connection. And I think Crimes does that a bit because we're really led to think about the implications of doing this and what that means for the body and the aesthetics. So yeah, I mean, for sure it has more shots of like directly visually visceral things, but I mean, I would put them kind of at the same level, although this is very subjective, I mean, and also pointless.
Makes this whole remark and also pointless.
Yeah,
So, but anyway,
but the Shroud seems to be a little bit of this as well again.
yes, it's like
Crimes
this
of the Future.
crossroads. Crimes of the Future have interesting ideas, but it wasn't one that completely befuddled me. I have much more of a connection with Dead Ringers. Maybe because I liked the ideas more, or I thought they were better realized. I thought it was a performance that was more poignant in its emotional undercurrents to me, while being a very tame plot. Um, the ending is, of course, amazing, superb, in the way it ends and the way the way he wakes up in the next morning, and there's that very slow shot of him getting up from the operation table. This is Beverly, and then in the background you see Beverly Elliot actually completely gut open, and these weird colors of red and purple, and you never go near him, and you never see his eye line, Beverly's eye line, crossing with his brother, and he just avoids it, and it's just Ellie, 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 Ellie. It's like, and it's like this bibifying thing, and this very soothing music in the background that it just makes you hurt for this loss. Like, why does this needed to happen? Because you just somehow you feel this connection, this need, but this didn't need to happen. Just this narrative that you have in your heads. And I think I'm very compelled by characters who seem to operate with this fictional narrative that they have in their heads. I seem to, me myself,
Delusional,
what
you
attracts
mean?
me, delusional. That's the exact word. That's the very good, word. Grammar, very good. All right, so delusional. That's the exact word, and that I would use and didn't. Thank you, grammar Nazi, Mike. Of course, always at.
Just helping you out.
This is giving us passive aggressiveness somehow at this point. But yeah, no, delusional. That's what it is. Having this kind of narrative that is useless and needless, but somehow along the lines of your life and growing up, you catch on to it, and it's what makes you work. It's what makes you tick. You are in the routine of that. It's what guides you, and you just feel an injustice made, to yourself or others as a tragedy. This could have been avoided, and that's what makes it so compelling. Now I find sometimes myself being attracted in my own writing, these kind of delusional characters who just fall prey to these narratives they have in themselves. We need to synchronize. I need to eat this, and he finds them in the bed completely, sunken. When Elliot returns home and finds Beverly drunk and drugged as well, and Beverly looks up to him almost cartoony, as you say, Mike, and says something along the lines. I don't know what he says, but it's sort of funny, sort of serious. Hello, baby brother, something like that. Yeah, I just think that ending is gut wrenching. And then he goes to the payphone, and I was thinking, oh wow, payphones, we don't have that anymore. I mean, the payphones still exist, if you want to use them, I guess, but are they operational? I don't know.
Good
Yeah,
question. I think maybe they have to
Probably
be
are.
operational,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
some
they
rule,
have to be.
but
Hey, it's useful if you happen to if your phone has no charge, but nobody uses it. Real like what do you mean?
that's such a not a 21st
Yeah.
century problem anymore.
Yeah. But it
It's
was
like
funny.
you put me there, I'm like, who do I call? Like 911? That's the only number I know. Or my own.
911. You know, if there's an emergency, 911. If your phone has
have
no
battery.
charge.
Back when people
Do
needed
we
to
have
know phone
coins?
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I was a kid, I used to see people kind of going to the payphone still, and my phones of reference at home were, the landline phones, the phones fixed, the landline phones, and I had rotary dial phones as well. My grandmother had rotary dial phones. I usually say this, that we live with different eras. We are used to furniture and object from different eras. We lived in the 70s to some degree because their grandmothers or grandparents had that sort of stuff around the house. Like when I went to
Yeah,
my house,
mine too.
my grandma's house, which is a childhood house, like furniture, which you have at your house, Mike, as well. Like your furniture is very much kind of like 70s, 60s.
Yes,
furniture, I would
can't you
say.
see this perfectly? 70s IKEA furniture.
I don't even mean that. I mean the living room, which is very interesting.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm always transported when I'm in Mike's living room. I always feel it's very cozy and interesting choices, and I'm always kind of looking around like, it reminds me of my grandmother's house.
Yeah, but that's true. And that the landline phone with the rotary thing, yeah. My grandparents had that as well.
Yeah, and it's cool, and it's so much so that it influences your filmmaking. Because I ended up, when I did Away in Silence, I ended up putting a rotary dial phone there because of that. It was a grandmother rotary dial phone, so I wanted. And there's that Robert Eggers things of going away from the modernity, the message coming up on the screen.
Eyes. You're averting your eyes from modernity.
What Cronenberg says is like, regarding filmmakers that say, oh, I love film, I want to come back to film, and etc. Cronenberg says like, but it's a transformation, but it's there. I don't know why I turned Cronenberg into Paul McCartney, but it's a transformation, So it's a transformation. It happens from film to digital, and the possibilities are endless. A little bit like David Fincher. That's more the line of filmmakers who say, "Hey, it's here to stay, and it's here to, and it's open. It's a headache film." David Lynch. It's a divide. I can understand both sides. I would love to play with film just because it's that that baptism by fire kind of dream of a lot of filmmakers, at least to kind of touch the original material. But I also fear it because I do a lot of takes. Same way with kind of Fincher. Kind of you want to try and retry to get to things. So I don't know. But yeah, interesting ideas that come from all of those experiences. Yeah.
All of this from a phone booth, huh?
All this from a phone booth. All this from from Cronenberg and transformations and different processes, film and digital, analog and and digital and the old, what is the the 90s and the 2000s, all this together, the filmmaker that goes across all these theories, I think it implies the discussion throughout all these elements that seem far off, but actually they come together because he often talks about it in his interviews. The same way is with how humans have evolved in their eating habits. We now consume more plastic because of the microplastics that have ended up in our food, and that's a known fact that has ended up in the news and that Cronenberg has discussed himself, and that is in the film Crimes of the Future. And it ends up being nutritious, that plastic, which is a bizarre idea. And
if only it were nutritious in our life as well, then we'd be pretty healthy.
I wish it didn't come to this point of us throwing plastic in the ocean and plastic ending up on some fish, and then the fish that we eat, has that stuff, and it causes cancer as well. It causes diseases. It's not good. But anyway, and I just came off today in the morning. I was watching this Herzog documentary, Encounters at the End of the World, which I noticed that Lenny had also seen it. And commentary being made, it's about scientists in Antarctica and the new discoveries they are making, etc. And some of them are very skeptical and saying things like, and this is Cronenberg translating or paraphrasing, in some near future, Werner, scientists claim that humanity is going to end, like the dinosaurs before us. The end is near. And I'm like, Jesus, Werner, like, calm down.
God damn.
Typical old guy who's almost dying and doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, kind of, The other day,
He's old. He can be pessimistic because he doesn't care.
But
Is
there's
that
gonna be a tipping point, man. Like there will, the climate change and all that, the pollution,
is that
a
one?
way
Is
of
that
no
film the one
return.
with the penguin?
Yes, it is,
Ah,
which is
okay.
amazing.
Yeah,
An
I love
amazing
that.
scene,
Yeah.
an amazing little moment. He's going to the
That's happy
interior.
moment.
Happy moment.
Happy feet moment.
There are legitimate happy moments in that film,
Yeah, yeah.
which I always think he looks at it with a cold, skeptical look. There's people, very interesting moments of people just like making improvised concerts, scientists playing guitar when they have a new discovery on top of their base, just playing kind of play guitar at the top of their base, like, and it's like wow, like in the middle of nowhere, this desolated area, the human beings still find ways to sort of, you know,
Have fun.
tame this wild nature and find civilization, because the base itself had yoga classes, and a bowling alley. And Werner was saying, I am tired of these yoga classes and this bowling alley. I need the exterior. I need the wind. So,
I have no bowling alley here in my city, but they have it in Antarctica. That's interesting.
that's interesting. I have a bowling alley.
I don't know. It's not
But
fair.
it's not enough. You need to go out to the village to get a bowling alley.
I only
like,
played
yeah.
bowling in Colombo.
Really?
Yeah.
Mike and I were just discussing that when I went there to watch Mission Impossible.
I mean, also that, yeah, I really like the ending as well. I think the detail of him not really acknowledging his brother's death, I think is really interesting, because I think in the very beginning he notices it, and then it's like it's sort of a denial where after he noticed it, he can't look at it again, and just sort of goes back with the shock to his childhood, just speaking his name, Ellie, Ellie, Ellie. Like, I think it was really nice detail of the sort of ways dealing with the death of his brother, almost like I'm not even gonna look, because if I don't look, it's not there.
Yeah, and it's not realized, not there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the denial aspect of that grief. I think it's really interesting and very heartbreaking. So, especially with the actual final shot with him lying on top of his brother,
Yeah,
sort of in
which
a
he's,
fetal position.
I think he's dead too. By that point, he killed himself.
Yeah, I had to rewatch it again. I'm not sure if he moves or not, but yeah, it's basically hinting that he's gonna die because they speak of that moment before where if the brother dies, the other one dies of shock. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
very sad, but
there are other amazing scenes in the film. I love the scene where it's a moment of kind of a pause of relaxation, and you have Beverly, actually Elliot again, confusion. Elliot dancing with this girl that he has an affair with in their apartment. The apartment, which is really confuses itself with the cleaning, because the colors are very similar. It almost seems like the same place. I don't even know anymore. They almost seem to live and breathe and work in the same place, and that's kind of the idea, to live the thing, the work. And Elliot is dancing with this girl, very sensual and everything, and Beverly is on the couch, on that pit, completely disheveled and lost in his melancholy for this woman who he loves, and he thinks he's having an affair. And this beautiful shot of like high angle going over the couch to find them, where this woman, which is the point of view of this woman who tries to call him in and try to have fun, and he tries, and there's this beautiful dance between the three of them, and he's this like chimera, you know, three-headed monster together, where they dance, and it's one Jeremy Irons on one end, one Jeremy Irons on the other, and this woman kind of sandwiched between them, and one is more gentle, the other's more mischievous in the touch, and suddenly he has a breakdown, and the music rumps up and becomes like a very moment of urgency, where suddenly there's all gentleness ceases, and he even throws the woman. I think Jeremy Irons is still a bit coarse and violent with her, where she tries to help him out, but she shoos her away, and she bumps against the wall of the veranda even, and he tries to make his brother come back to life, and it's all to do with that double play between the empathy you feel for these brothers, but also how careless they are of other people and women in particular. And then another scene which I find very interestingly shot in its mise en scène is how when Elliot returns to Claire.
Claire.
Yeah, Claire is another person, but Claire is finds Elliot in her bed, shot from afar, with his instruments, of evil, like those instruments of mutation. And she goes there, and even when she goes to the bedroom, they're always filmed from afar, with the frame of the bedroom around them. It's almost like a secret, a very intimate side of Elliot, of them, the mental twins, is being revealed. I really like the subtlety in the choice of opening that scene that way and coming back to that shot even when they're having the conversation over the instruments. But yeah, those were some of kind of visual moments that attracted me. And what do you thought about the actress? I think she has a very poignant scene where is really her money scene when she confronts the two brothers in the restaurant. One is Dracula, the other is the gentle one, like kind of thing. But yeah, it's a very interesting exchange of dialogue there. You have some very feisty girl that you found here, Beverly. The kind of Jeremy Irons at his
it's a great
finest of
scene.
Britishness. It's a great
Yeah, I
scene.
think she's good. Yeah, that scene. But also the scene where she sort of kind of says goodbye to Beverly with the instruments at the bed, and she says, "If you go, Elliot's not gonna let you come back." I think it's after she comes back from the movie set, so she's there speaking with Bev again. And yeah, I mean it's emotional, so I enjoy that scene as well from her standpoint because I think she also delivers. So overall, she's a good actress. I didn't know her, but she
No, I
just
didn't know.
good moments.
No.
She has a very interesting face. Maybe it's of the age itself, but it's that face that is both young and old because you can see the marks in her eyes, the kind of wrinkles. And it's a hardened face, but also there's a beauty to it. And I think she's able to portray a female character with many facets to her. You can see her vulnerabilities, her interests, her curiosities, but also the ways in which she's brave in her and risky in her sex life, in trying to make Elliot come out of his sort of protective cocoon. How she can be gentle as well as cold and selfish in her own right. There are many moments like that
And
kind of paint this
she's
character.
insightful because maybe not the first, but she was one of the first that actually noticed the difference between the two twins in being with each other, and feeling like sometimes I feel this way, sometimes I feel this other way when I'm with you. So, in fact, she's the one that caused this. So it's natural
Yes.
that she is insightful, but yeah, she's the one that actually managed to tell which is which, or at least that she didn't feel the same way sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, Ellie mentions, I think he said, like, you are causing new, like us to venture into new territory. I think he says something along those lines, that we are going through uncharted
Yeah.
waters because
Yeah.
it's unfamiliar what they're going through.
And even then he tries to, his response is to revert things back to the way things were. Let's operate, Claire, in the way that we work, we brothers, we share the same things. Let's make it this purely sexual, and I share what he shares, what he has, which he says basically, no, let's like try to be normal human beings, where he has the right to have his own relationship, and that's an interesting scene as well. I don't think I've ever seen Cronenberg really incorporate the world of film into his films, which here is more assumed with her being an actress and we visiting a trailer. Normally every now and then you see a filmmaker who has the interest of going into the world of filmmaking about filmmaking. Here is the one and only film, I think, where this happens more evidently. A little fun fact, the guy who creates the artist
Doesn't
who
it?
creates
Doesn't it?
yeah.
I think on Existence that happens as well, but I'm not
Oh, you
sure.
have seen it? I haven't seen it
I haven't
yet,
seen
but
it.
Yeah, but it
okay.
was a long time ago. Like I was a kid. But I think there's a
Okay.
lot of
You have no
camera,
consciousness.
a lot of camera sort of video, sort of. I don't know. I have to rewatch it, but I have a memory of that.
Yeah, you had no consciousness. But anyway.
No.
Yeah, right. Who didn't? But the objects, the instruments that are created by an artist in the film that has a character. That guy is the protagonist of one of his first films, if not his first, which is Scanners. Yeah, and he's a real life artist. He's a very wooden actor in that film.
He's
well,
not.
because
I
he's not an
didn't like
actor at
him.
all. He's an
Yeah.
artist. Yeah, I didn't like him neither. I thought he was so blunt and wooden and bad. Like Jesus.
The whole acting in
What?
that film, in
know,
general, I thought was
Yeah,
very.
yeah.
It is what it is.
It was not my favorite Cronenberg. I saw it recently, I have to say, and I wasn't over the moon.
I didn't love it, but it's. I mean, that final stare down between the two guys in the heads.
it's
That's very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless.
I think the best actor maybe is the villain.
And even him, I was a bit.
Yeah.
Seemed like cheap Nicholson.
I guess. Yeah, Nicholson from Temu. Yeah, with this guy.
Vancouver Nicholson.
Whoa. Yeah, okay.
I like Vancouver. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah. Don't kill us, Canada.
Don't kill us. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's all for today. If you'd like to reach out and suggest a film for the next episode, you can find us on the podcast official Instagram and website pages. Feel free to subscribe, share this episode, or simply give us a like. That's how our podcast can grow ever more groovy. And if you're on YouTube and want to see more videos like this, check out this next one right here. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
And next time, bring a twin.